Our passion didn't start with the mouth. It started with people, with the well-being of the profession. And if you're like me, maybe a little bit of your nerdiness and all things tech too. We all want to love what we do, but the truth is, burnout, people problems, and glass ceilings can keep us from doing what we set out to do. So let's get back to the heart of connection. Welcome to the Dental Handoff. This show is about passing you the knowledge, the habits, the systems, and the strategies to lead your teams, lean on your tech, and listen to your gut while you take care of people and truly the overall health of our communities. Let's stop using the wrong end of the toothbrush, y'all. My name is Dr. Kelly Tanner. Oh, and uniquely, I'm a dental hygienist too. You can consider me a guru in the dental and leadership industry. With over 3 decades of experience, my goal is to take you to the next level by empowering growth, perspective, and confidence. By identifying the gaps, recognizing the plaque, and extracting the truth with the other experts in the field. I'll share their stories, empower you to own yours, and elevate your passion in the process. So have a seat in the chair, put on your bib, and let's get to work. Welcome to the Dental Handoff. I am Dr. Kelly Tanner, and today I have with me Kathleen Bokrossy. Kathleen, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very honored.
Yeah, so Kathleen owns rdhu up in Canada. She's a Canadian, and she's going to tell us all about her story. And Kathleen, as you know, I always ask, why did you become a dental hygienist? Like, why dental hygiene? Why dentistry for you?
All right. So my stories, I don't think it's that exciting, like how it all happened. But when I was in high school, trying to decide what I was going to do with my life, in Canada, we had like grade 12 if you're going to take the college route, and grade 13 if you're going to go to the university route. So I didn't want to limit my options. So I was in grade 13, and I switched schools to get into music. I thought maybe I was going to be in the symphony or be a music teacher. It was just an option. I played classical piano. I played clarinet. So I switched schools, and I just felt like it wasn't right. Something wasn't sitting right. And I went and had a little visit with my aunt, who's now passed away. She was one of my favorite people. And so I had a visit with her over the March break, and kind of sharing to her, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to decide like right now. I'm going to disappoint my mom quitting the music. And so I was just spending a little bit of time with her, trying to figure out what is it I was going to do. And then she had a dental appointment, and she came home, and I remember exactly where I was sitting, and she walked in the kitchen and she said, Kath, why don't you be a dental hygienist? I was like, yes, that's it. Because I knew I didn't want to work in like an office setting, working, on computers and all that, which is funny because that's what I do now. But I didn't want to be in that setting. I knew I wanted to be with people. I wanted to do something different. I loved going to my dentist. Like, I used to love going and getting my teeth done. And I just love the whole experience, which is really, kind of different, but I used to enjoy it. So, which I still do enjoy it, except for fillings and such. But so that's how it all happened. And then after I left that, after I left my aunt, I went home. She came with me. I told my mom. And then I started looking at what did I have to do to become a dental hygienist. So the first thing we had to do was become a dental assistant. So I went to dental assisting that September, and then you had to work 2 years as a dental assistant. And then I was applying for dental hygiene, and I was, I think it was like, 3,000 people were applying, and there's like 200 positions in Ontario. So, and I knew of people that were applying over and over again, and I was ready to do it. So I started looking to schools in the States, and I am going to Erie Community College in Buffalo. And I spent a couple of years down there. And that's how it all happened. Then I came home and started traveling right away. I had to get my board exam. At the time, it was through the Royal College of Dental Surgeons of Ontario. We now have the College of Dental Hygienists of Ontario. But at that time, we were with the dentists. And so I came home and started practicing in one area, and then my husband's work was having him move quite a bit. And so we moved to a different province. We moved out west into British Columbia, and then that's where my whole entrepreneurial journey started, from moving from office to office. Yeah.
Wow. So you said that, is it still a requirement in Canada that you become an assistant before you go to hygiene school? Or was it just then?
It was just then, back then. Yeah. Now you can
Oh,
go straight
wow.
to dental hygiene. Yeah.
So when you graduated, you had the capability of being a dental assistant and a hygienist, which I think is what
Oh,
an opportunity.
yes. Yes. So I was working. It's funny because I was working with an orthodontist, and I remember even going for my interview. My mom took me for my interview, and he said to me, "Can you start at 2 o'clock, like today?" And I was like, "Well, my mom's sitting in the parking lot waiting for me, you know." So it was a great office. I loved it. They didn't want me to leave. I was kind of torn. I was just like, do I stay here? And I loved what I was doing as a dental assistant. I loved taking care of all the dental hygienists, and I was always thinking one step ahead of them. And so it was so rewarding for me. I love being the easy button for people. And it still is with me to this day. But and then a friend of mine's uh, brother had just graduated from dentistry, and he was looking for an assistant, and he was in general. So I thought, I should go and work with him for a few months so I can understand what goes on in the general practice, because all I knew was ortho. So I went and worked with him for a few months, and then he didn't want me to leave. And so I was torn, but I did leave, and I went into dental hygiene, and it's been a wonderful journey. So I was dental hygienist since, do you want me to tell you the year? Since 1989, a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So are you glad that so I'm just sitting here thinking, so many times people say, I'm so glad I had that assisting experience because
yes.
I was able to see a different lens of what was going on in the office, to be able to think ahead, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
What do you think? What type of opportunity do you think it provided to you as a clinician, as a dental hygienist, having had that experience as a dental assistant?
Oh, I think it's huge. Now a lot of dental hygienists have gone straight from school and straight from high school into dental hygiene. So you don't get to really understand what goes on behind closed doors, right? You don't really understand the procedures. And so I found that to be a wonderful experience, that I really understood what was going on. So I think it equipped me when I was in school as well, to really understand, for procedures that I was recommending. I could explain to them, what to expect. So I think it was very important. I thought it was a great path.
Yeah, although at the time it probably seemed long, like, will I ever become a dental hygienist? When do I get to do this? So then you went out and you practiced clinically, and then tell us a little bit about your story from that point on, because here
Yeah.
you are, you didn't just arrive. There was a
Yeah.
lot of cool stuff in
Oh
between.
my gosh, so much stuff. But I loved being a clinical dental hygienist, and I was practicing in one area, and then we moved across to another area of Ontario. And then I was practicing out in BC and different offices. So sometimes I was temping, filling in for somebody. I was often new. And then what had happened was, everywhere I was going, there was a common problem with the dental instruments. And I was always so good at sharpening. It was kind of like my master skill that I had. So I started to, like, everywhere I was going, I was sharpening everybody's instruments, the dentist instruments, the dental hygienist instruments. And then I was thinking, this would be a great business to have. Like, I wonder if anyone's doing this. So I started looking into it, and nobody was offering the service. So I started a company that we would, sharpen instruments. We would retip back then. This was a long time ago. And then I started my own line of instruments as well. So it was an awesome business. And then my manufacturing company actually offered to, they bought my company. So I stayed with them for 4 years, and then I left because I had already started RDHU. But my passion, I love dental instruments. I love teaching people how to maintain them. I love to help them recognize when to replace their instruments. Because everywhere I was working, I was getting these, sickleized curettes. I was getting these stubby toes. It's like you can't even recognize what these instruments are. So I was so passionate about getting high quality instruments into the dental practice. I created programs where, we would set up per op. So an op would have, say, 5 cassettes or 8 cassettes. And then, 3-4 months later, their next sets would come. They would just take what they're using, put it back into the box, send it back to us. We had a return service label, and it was like a wonderful program. So, because that's the challenge is like, first of all, when to replace instruments. Some offices, some areas, they can get whatever they want. They can just ask for it. But most, it's like you're trying to sell to whoever's in charge, the dentist, the office manager, whoever, every time you need new instruments. So this way, it was a one-time sell. You just had to get on this program, and then you were good to go. And so it's like a dream come true experience for the dental hygienist, because they're always working with sharp instruments. A dream come true experience for the patient, because they were always receiving, optimal care, gentle care. And then it all translates to the dental practice, and because happy patients refer, happy patients want to stay for you, stay with you. We often hear of a patient leaving and going to the front desk and saying, I don't want to see that dental hygienist anymore. And most times it's not that dental hygienist, it's the instruments that are in his or her hands. So that was always a big passion of mine. And then along the way, I was like teaching how to sharpen, teaching instrumentation. I'd go to offices, I'd be at dental conferences, and then I often heard, you should offer more. Like, this is, they love the practical application. And at the time, there really wasn't anyone offering hands-on education. And I would go to seminars. Like we have in Ontario, we have this portfolio. It's a quality assurance, and we have to set goals for ourselves every year. We have to create a learning plan. We have to find all the resources to learn, and then we have to apply it to our practice, and then show how did it enhance and improve patient care and our practice. And then what, first of all, what did you learn? And then how did you apply it to your practice, and how was it beneficial? So there was a lot of like confusion and fear. A lot of people fear our college. And so, it was all kind of coming together, and people would ask me, like, could you help us with the portfolio? Could you help us? So could you do more courses? And that's how RDHU started. So I started a company where I found the best of the best presenters to present on their expertise, and then take it one step farther and create goal statements, give them extra resources for learning. Let's talk about, what did you learn here today? Let's highlight it. So instead of sitting in a room with, 200-300 other dental hygienists, and I would most times be bored and leave and be like, I didn't really get anything from that. So we've really changed the landscape of how most presenters are presenting now in Canada, because we're very aware of, let's take it back, and let's not just like share all of our knowledge, but let's talk about it. And how can we implement this into our practice? And how can we improve patient care and our practice? And I'm a big believer that the more you learn, the more you're engaged, the more you love what it is that you do. And I talk to so many dental hygienists every day the ones who are lifelong learners, and then the ones who are just checkbox,
Right.
just getting their CE. That's all they want to do. Why can't we just get our CE? But I love like looking back, reflecting on, what is it that I just learned, documenting it, and then what am I going to do? How can I improve my practice? And it's like that with anything, like personal development as well. We take so many courses on how to be a better person, how to be a leader. And if we just not absorb it and really reflect on it, then you're never going to change. It's going to be the same.
So speaking on reflection, I'm going to wind this back a little bit. And you were talking about how you loved instrument sharpening and you loved then teaching people how to do that. And then you developed courses and now you developed RDHU. So my question is, how does a person listening to your story, how do they know when to take that next step? Because we weren't born into the profession going, oh, I'm going to do all these things. They happen and then you get scared
I
and
was
then you're
scared.
fearful.
I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was super like, I've shared this once in a presentation, and here I'm going to share it on your podcast. But when I was younger, I had a stutter. So I could not speak in front of people. And it was since I was a child. And so I was always like behind the scenes. And it was one of those things that when I knew I was starting RDHU, I'm like, that was before I was really getting into conferences and it was all kind of like coming together, but I was super like nervous. And I would think about what is it I'm saying versus what is it they're hearing. So when I switched that mindset, and I remember doing this self-assessment, it was Fascinate How the World Sees You. And so it was one of those things. Sally Hogshead is her name, but it was how the world sees you. And I was trying to be somebody who I wasn't. I was trying to be like very proper and very like the way I thought I should be in front of people. And so once I started being myself, and adding that exclamation mark after my sentence and speaking to people like it's that one person and talking into a camera like it's that one person, right? And thinking about what is it that they're hearing, everything changed for me. So I no longer was behind the scenes. I was so shy. I didn't want to introduce a speaker. I'd be like, no, you're good. You go up. But now, I've spoken at RDH Under One Roof a couple of times. Their mega session, 2,200 people. It's like, so you can never think, oh, I can never do that. Because honestly, you can. You just put your mind to it and you're just like, gosh darn it, I can do it.
Yeah. So it sounds like you changed your mindset on it. You changed your mindset. And then how did you take action on that? Like, how did you say, okay, I'm thinking that it's because I'm not being the most authentic part of me. And then how did you know which step to take next?
I had to. It was like, I put myself out there. I'm always like, why do I do things to put myself out there? But I think it's my calling. Like I love truly helping people. I love inspiring people. I love to have them do things like most presenters in Canada started with RDHU because, I'm like, you can do this. I'd see something in somebody and I'd like, you can do this. You can present on this topic, do your research. And then, it's one of those things that if it's in you to do something, or if you're thinking, oh, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Anybody can do it. Really, if you stick to it, have that perseverance, and I don't let negativity get into my mind. I'm always like, nope, do not go there. You totally got this. I see what I want to do, and I just keep going for it. And I have this daily journal that I write, the 3 most important things for me for that day. And then you just do it. And also like listening to podcasts, like having good mentors. I would go to conferences like with Michael Hyatt, for instance. He's like a leader in the business and organization. I've got some marketing mentors that I work with. And it's all like, you just find those people. And that's how I heard about that book. I was at a conference and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that. And then it was something clicked for me with that. And then one day, Sally Hogshead was like messaging me and saying, do you want to join me? I'm having a small group. We're going for dinner. She knew I was going to this conference. And I'm like, yeah. So here I was sitting with 4 other people and, and it's funny because I just wrote about this yesterday in my blog. I have this weekly email. It's called On Track Tuesday. Being with RDHU, you just go to rdhu.ca. It's free to join. So we've got about 20,000 dental hygienists in our membership. And so every Tuesday, I write a motivational blog, and then underneath, it's all the things that are coming up. Whether it's our show, the rdhu, or courses, hands-on, live streaming. We do a lot of online courses. So yesterday I wrote about one of our presenters, Lisa Moore. She, I had a meeting with her yesterday, and she stepped out of her comfort zone, and she went and she became like one of our QA coach members, and she hired us to be her coach. And it was about $500. And a lot of her friends were like, why are you spending that money? Like, why are you doing that? And you could figure it out yourself. And she's like, if I didn't do that, she didn't step out and put herself out there and invest in herself. And now she's our, ortho trainer. She's writing 2 more programs for advanced training. I'm also on the editorial board for Oral Hygiene Journal. So I have her writing up for that. So I wrote about that and her story yesterday because, if you don't put yourself out there and take the chance and say, I could do this, right? It's like going to, and I know Carrie Lepacek was on with you, and she said it herself, like when you're going to conferences, reach out, like I'm going to be there. I'd love to meet you. Or, find a mentor and ask them to go for coffee, and then be positive and learn, grow, like do personal development. It's so important.
The personal development just accelerates where you're going to be, because $500 can sound like a lot, but what's the cost of not doing it?
Right. And what did it bring her now? Not that it's going to happen for everybody. It just, she was working with our vice president, Beth Parks, and Beth was, she saw something in her. So she's like, I think we can work with Lisa and get her. So we've been working with her for a few years, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? It's like you put yourself out there. Like, she's on holidays this week, and she's already sent me an article. She's finished this and that. It's like, it's putting yourself out there. And as a clinical dental hygienist, it doesn't mean you have to stop being a clinical dental hygienist, right? You can do both. And then, I think it really elevates you as a professional as well. When people see, oh, this article, you wrote an article, good for you. Or you put together a 1-hour webinar, awesome. Or a paper, a research paper. Like, there's so many. It doesn't mean that you're different from anyone else, all those people that are doing it. You just got to figure out, how do they do it? So
sorry, go ahead.
I love helping people figure their path out,
Yeah. And, it's like you mentioned, when people lean into that personal development, it doesn't happen overnight. But I think what begins to happen is that bit of self-awareness, that you uncover more about yourself and your purpose through that process. And while there may not immediately be someone on the other side 10 minutes later saying, oh, do you want to do this? Oh, do you want to do that? Through this, you start to develop your own personal brand and your muscle for it to be resilient and to be comfortable stepping into something that you've never done before. But we have all done that. We all went through hygiene school and dental school, and whoever is listening to this, with the listeners, you have already proved to yourself that you've done it before. So there is nothing holding you back from doing your next thing.
That's right. And also, I have to say, I have a great partner in my husband. He feeds me all the things, because he's been so into personal development for so many years. And so whenever he thinks of something, he'll be like, oh, Kath, I just thought of you. I think this would help. And so he'll send me the link. And so he's always feeding me things,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's good to be around people, like, that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So who are those 5 people? And so I often say, like, join us for the rdhu. That's our talk show. It's a CE talk show, and hang out with us, because you'll leave there feeling better about what it is you do, right? There's a lot of negativity in this world. And, I see a lot in the Facebook groups, and it really pains me to see how so many people are like, did I make a mistake? Am I in the wrong? No, you didn't make a mistake, but surround yourself with positive people. Create a plan, get yourself energized, want to learn, like increase your skills, increase your knowledge, and then you're going to get excited. And if you're in an office that you're not happy and you're working with, a group that are pushing you down and not letting you practice the way you want to practice, there's a lot of positions out there for you. You just have to find that office. And when you do, I was very fortunate. I've worked in so many great offices. I worked in one that I didn't like, and I left. It was like, no, it's not for me, right? You have to be, you have to feel good every day. We spend a third of our lives working. So you really want to make sure that you're not compromising, even for a day. A day turns into a week, into a month, into a year. Like even going back to the instruments, like if you're, oh, my office won't get me instruments or won't let me get a new ultrasonic, or all those things are important. And if then you got to figure it out on either you're going to get those things or create a proposal and get them to get it for you. And if not, maybe you're going to get your own. But if it goes beyond that and there's more negative stuff, then you got to just say goodbye and go on to the next thing,
Absolutely. And then two, if you do decide to go into another new office, sometimes it's kind of like relationships where you can attract the same type of office into your life. If you don't know the difference in yourself and what you're truly, if you don't get clear on what you want. And so recognizing that and learning how to advocate for yourself and what you want, and to learn how to weed out those circumstances where, or even picking up on things during the interview and knowing what to ask and knowing how that resonates with you. So if you're getting in the middle of a situation, working with a newer office, and it's starting to seem kind of familiar, like the icky feeling, like bad isn't good for you. Like when it feels bad, it's not for you. So learn how to speak up respectfully, ask for what you want, and then recognize if it is what you're attracting still into your life with that type of practice as well.
So it's like journal, write it down. What is it that I want? What is it that I don't want? And then also feel confident that when you're going in for interviews, like you're asking the questions. Don't let them ask you all the questions, right? You want to make sure that before you jump in, it's a good fit.
Exactly right. We could go, I know, Kathleen, you and I can go on and on about this, and everyone to reach out to Kathleen and learn more about what she's doing. Certainly go into the show notes on this episode. You've made such an impact in our profession, and I look forward to working with you more in the future. And you are such a huge advocate, I think, for the profession, obviously, but then also the other speakers who are leaning in, who are talking about the things that no one else is talking about, and creating that community for those who need that support. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. It's awesome. I really enjoyed being on with you today. And thank you for doing what you're doing. I was so happy to meet you. And I know we're going to be doing more together.
Absolutely. Well, for all of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And, I always ask, please go on to Apple Podcasts and give a 5-star rating, 5-star rating, 5 stars. And then go on to YouTube, like, share, subscribe, bring your friends, and build that community that you've always wanted. And thank you all for each of you all for what you do every day. Be well, my friends. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Kathleen.
All right. Take care. Bye, everybody.